What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm gonna review the sixth album by rapper Ghostface Killah. Basically, this product is called More Fish, and it came out in the late fall of 2006. Now, particularly Ghostface Killah had a particular heraldment year of 2006 with this hit album Fish Scale, which was a big deal critically received wise as far as what's pitch gonna happen. Was this lyrical dynamite, was the sort of stuff that folks were saying back in like the mid 2000s that more albums needed to be like as far as what's first gonna happen. Was kind of a poster board for that particular stuff. The product of it on paper, that sounds like an excellent concept, but the pitch behind it was not really savvy with like ringtone rap type pitches, so it's just more lyrical rap with that typical war in the mid 2000s, late 2000s of style versus substance. And this was an album that had substance that won, folks like I think The Source and Double XL. I remember Double XL giving this Fish Scale back in those days like a Double XL, which is their highest score, pitches like that. But the particular thing about it nowadays, I think Fish Scale might have went gold or even platinum, some of those type fairs, but it was really only known for one single, which I want to say if it would not have had the Neo hook on there, probably wouldn't have even charted with that. But it was the concept of having Back Like That, which was a pretty good tune. Now, it's been since the spring or summer of 2015 since I've reviewed Fish Scales, one of the first reviews I did on this particular channel as far as those first gonna happen. But I did not appreciate that album as much back in those days. Nowadays, I probably would, although I did try to listen to Fish Scale like several months ago within probably late 2024, early 2025, just the pitch behind it. There were some songs within the pitch that I recognize are good within a sense, but it's just kind of an acquired taste with the concept of dislike, more kind of stark, kind of 70s sample type aspect. There's a lot of samples on this particular album, which is pretty excellent type fare, but it's just a different taste of production fare compared to when you think of some of the folks that I've been typically reviewing, like when you think of folks like Chingy, or when you think of folks like Chingy or Two Chains or Ludacris, some of those particular type folks, Nelly and like Jibs and folks like that. This particular type fare, some of the typical more some of the more particular type ringtone type rap. But this is a pretty excellent type album within pitch. Definitely has some pretty good fare about it. It's maybe like considering that it's been 10 years since I reviewed Fish God, I probably would up the score. I don't remember what I gave it back in those days, but just to be able to say, I remember saying that it was a frustrating album just because of the fare that it just didn't have like the meet you halfway kind of fare as far as saying most of it was just kind of more with the, like that typical kind of stark, not necessarily boom bap, but just kind of a little bit more staccato type productions on there that was just a different taste of kind of instrumental type fare than the typical stuff I was used to around that time. But I look after it. This album kind of has a learning curve towards just something to know that this is kind of an acquired taste of a product. It's the same sort of album that just doesn't have the ringtone type rap type stuff on here, but it is excellent within the fare. It kind of has like a learning curve as far as saying that you're just not going to get the radio ready type ones that was popping around 2006, like We Fly High and Make It Rain. It's Going Down and Shoulder Lane, some of those type ones within those particular type pitches. Now these were just the fares. Ghostface Killah was kind of in his mid late 30s around this particular time, so it's just kind of the concept as far as saying that he was, this is the particular aspect, not necessarily saying that rap was like a young sport, but it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying in terms of like commercial appeal is probably more folks like D Pharrell and like it's probably more folks like D Pharrell and 36 Mafia and Ludacris that folks are probably paying attention. But it's excellent type fare. I appreciate this album. Just has some excellent type appeal. Not much promotion on here, just for the pitch, similar to Fish Scale, but it's got some excellent type tunes within it. Fish Scale is definitely a good mixtape album. Just to be able to say that. If you like the particular kind of DJ drama, Don Cannon type sound, I'd say within those affluences, Fish Scale is pretty similar to that, just in like the more city weaving type aspects. There's some ones on there like The Champ and Be Easy, a little bit of Back Like That, some of those particular type ones. It's the more buzz singles within that product from what I remember of it. Shaky Dog's probably another one within some of those type aspects that kind of have that particular aspect about it. It's really nailed that particular mixtape flair. But I look after just the concept of getting that particular taste of just like a DJ drama mixtape, just in an album type format. Just had some other gems like that. I would review that again, but I look after the pitch. I don't know within the concept of wanting to do re-reviews in the pitch, but it's a better album than what I probably said back in 2015 as my styles have kind of adapted and definitely gotten more widespread. But I look within pitch, so that, yeah, basically out of 15 songs in this album, there's 17 songs in here, minus one skit, narrows it down to 16, minus the Back Like That remix, which is the same song as the original Back Like That, just has Kanye West and another rapper on there who I forget, I'll check later. But the Back Like That remix, same song, so that narrows it down to 15. Out of those 15 songs, I wound up recommending 12. So it's an excellent type pitch. This album's going to get a pretty rave overall score just in the pitch behind it. Not quite as full bound a classic, but within the pitch, definitely some pretty excellent type fare. Now, nowadays, the pitch behind is just the fact of just saying that there's not really much single promotion about this product. It seems like the only real song on this album that was promoted within a minor to sense, Wikipedia doesn't even recognize the single, but just be able to say, is this the song good as far as those fares going to happen? So I'll talk about the song Good, and then I'll talk about the 3 songs I don't recommend, then we'll just get to the review of this album. So basically, the song Good is like a starry kind of mixtape like kind of city step out to kind of get here. More stark version of Back Like That, the single from the Fish Scale album from 2006. Good street cut, I had to say here, and just got some snaz about it. So just that particular aspect, just the same sort of starry step out within the fashion. When you think of like bubble music by Cameron, some of those type ones, just 70 samples induced, some of those type pitches in between like the concept of something like that would be like by Just Blaze and some of those type East Coast type producers, folks like that. Not quite a Swizz Beatz type production, but something very similar to Just Blaze, some of those type folks, something not quite DJ Premier either, trying to think of some other type ones, something with a little bit more. I'll look and see who it's produced by, just to be able to say that. Good is produced by a cat named Kool-Aid and Ronald Frost, so not as full bunch sure. There's some different type ones on here. There are some producers I recognize like Madlib and MF Doom, some of those type pitches, but Good just feels like getting another helping of what Ghostface Killah was in prime form for doing in 2006. It's just further type step out, just that city kind of pizzazz, and just like some kind of mink coat and kind of minty kind of step out flashes. Just a minty kind of mink coat kind of step out flash for those first albums. It's good type of appeal, just like Back Like That, some of those type ones. So good type of appeal. But yeah, so basically out of the 15 songs on here, the 3 songs I don't recommend would just be Ghost is Back, Poker Face, and then like Gotta Hold On. So Gotta Hold On is just the pitch behind this one. It's just kind of an upkeep type one. It's a more uplifting type one that just didn't nail the vibes full bound within the aspect behind it. Poker Face was just kind of a soulful type song that just songs like Street Opera and probably there's another one on here in particular like Greedy Bitches just nailed that vibe a lot better within the fare behind it. Just didn't have the same aspect. I feel like that particular like there is a lot of 70s soul samples on here within the pitch, not as full bound caked with it as Fish Scale seemingly was, but it's kind of an aspect that one's just a little bit more kind of chipmunk soul s that just didn't pull off the vibe of being really too affable Poker Face distant. So it's within the concept, but then also, like Ghost is Back was just kind of one. This was like a kind of 70s James Bond like pep move around as far as this pitch kind of happened. Just felt like being almost mission like in a sense. It's something kind of just in like the calm you to things, but just didn't nail the appeal of really much jive about it. It's just kind of the concept. This album really could have used a contemporary number, something like that, just in the pitch. I feel like the overall suave kind of blue blood pizzazz of like Back Like That is kind of sorely missing on here, which I think this is a good shot in the arm, is like another good booster as far as like a good concept, but further aspects. Basically, like the album says, just more fish. When you think of Fish Scale, this is the concept of further fish within the aspect of that album. It just didn't have. Probably, I mean, I think Ghostface Killah could have definitely anchored this album with like a pitch as far as like a single. Now it has that in the sense I probably would have went if Amy Winehouse had been in better condition, which seemingly I don't know if she was in better condition back in 2006, 2007, but she seemed kind of more kind of just within the jarble of it within certain pitches. I don't know if it was as far back as 2006, but I definitely think You Know I'm Good would have been a good aspect to have been a single if it would have been dependable within that aspect. I look after it. Really has like some good radio ready type appeal. It's one of the most commercial songs on here, but just looking after it, it just didn't have something it could have been like a dance club type smash. I mean, it has some gems on here, at least in terms I feel like of songs that could have been singles. I probably would have went with something like, well, actually, I don't know. I mean, I look after, there's a lot of good street cuts on here. I would say Blue Armor within a relative type sense kind of has that aspect, but not as much within like the velocity of like something commercial bound. I feel like probably apart from the Amy Winehouse song and maybe Gotta Hold On, if it wouldn't have been so uplifting within kind of like a ham factor of it, I probably would have said it would have had some chart appeal. But this album was just this is going to get. I'll go ahead and say the score of this album is going to get an 8.75 out of 10. It's just in the pitch as far as saying. I think it just needed a snaz type song with the pizzazz like Back Like That, and probably like a good street cut, something within the pitch of. There are some ones that do kind of replicate the vibe of like Shaky Dog, The Champ, and Be Easy, some of those type ones with songs like basically songs like Blue Armor, Miguel Sanchez, and uh probably Out of Town Shit, some of those type of ones I'd have to say, and maybe Block Rock, some of those particular type pitches, but just didn't have the aspect of really like the same buzz type single. It's not to say it's a bad project. I mean, 8.75 is pretty excellent with them pitch, but this kind of concept that maybe it's just the seems like the aspect that's going to get more delight kind of in terms of like the spotlight would probably be Fish Scale. It's the more kind of harrowing. That's the more banner type one, but it's just an excellent one to punch. You just get both of these because it's just the aspect of having a good bolsterment of basically getting probably about 25 or 35 touch songs to the aspect of this two prime era Ghostface Killah albums from his second win in 2006. So it's good type pitch, but this one's just a little bit lighter on the singles. But I look after it. So, like I was saying, you know I'm no good is a real nice one on here. This has Amy Winehouse hook, pretty good appeal for that. It's like a nice Mudhouse type flavor about this song. This vintage Winehouse just to get within those aspects. Good blue blood type groove about this song, and it's a good song for some mingles as far as those pitch gonna happen. It's kind of the step out of just like coffee shop places like that, just in the pitch behind it, just more within the fashion, just like city type living, just more amidst like brunch type commerce or just late night type commerce of going to more kind of Broadway type step out of just like the kind of appeal, just like kind of where you'd wear like a trench coat type aspect within some of that type fare, just going to places, you know, like not just Barnes and Noble, but just bookshop places, some of that type fare, Mudhouse, like I was saying, it's a good aspect. This really feels like an Amy Winehouse song to the pitch. It's just something she would kind of deliver upon. But this is Ghostface's tune that he nails this particular aspect. This is the sort of commercial bite that if he had probably just like another one or two more songs like this probably would have been probably the better album than Fish God. I'd say this probably would have nailed it with the Dynamite. This has the aspect of having like some good. This is a fun type album within the pitch. Has a lot of good aspects, like some variety. Has some variety on here that's just different from like the tone of what was typically going on in 2006. Barely feels like a 2006 album, so it's just some good type pitches. But so Blue Armor with Chic Luch is a real nice one here. There's like a city bravado kind of amidst like social heat. I'd had to say this goes with Fish Scales. The Champ and Be Easy, some of those type ones that I'd say here, just good for some sports games, as far as those first can happen. So just that typical kind of step out, just going to football games, basketball games, some of that particular type fare, just good type commerce, works in either the winter or like late summer pitches like that. Just aspect is pretty seasonal type one within the pitch, as far as those fairs going to go. Just good concept, but just like the bravado typeness of just like more amidst like starry type modes. This pretty like I like the starry aspect about this particular product, just taking that mixtape type fare when you think of songs once again like Bubble Music by Cameron and some of those type ones like the ROC by Cameron off of like I forget the name of that album, Come Home With Me, some of those type pitches. It's really that sort of Just Blaze kind of city step out within some of those type pitches. So it's just similar to that format. Further kind of mixtape heat within some of those type of appeals to social aspects there. Guns and Razors is a quality one. It's like a stark kind of 70s sample to kind of get here. Just doomsday music I would definitely feel like within the tone. Some of these MF Doom type productions work pretty well. It's a good combination. Get Ghostface Killah and MF Doom doing some of these particular type ones because it just really feels like a stark Wu-Tang type example from like the early 90s. This vintage Wu-Tang within that pitch, just in the aspect, just like that typical kind of 70s, just stark type aspect from back from the VHS days, way back in those days. This kind of mixtape grind tune to kind of get here, just like Fish Scale. That's it within these aspects here, and it's a good song for some lyrics for those tones to have. So this aspect is once again, Ghostface Killah is a pretty potent lyricist, so it's just the concept of just him shredding these apart. And then there's a lot of popular guests on here as well. There's like this cat named Tribe to God who's on here a number of times. Not sure, he might be Wu Tang. Not sure. I know he's within the Wu Tang family, something like that. Capadonna is on this particular song, Guns and Razors. Just has a good type pitch as far as those fairs can happen, and I know Capadonna. I bought one of his albums way back in the day, 2015. I almost reviewed it back in those days, but just never got around to it. It's just from the pitch as far as saying, but I look after it. Some good type folks here. So then some of those type pitches, some good type fare. Miguel Sanchez is a nice one. Now, this song does not have Ghostface Killah on it. He definitely should have been on this song, but it has a lot of good folks on here. It says that particularly it's actually Capadonna that's on Miguel Sanchez, but there's a number of folks. I don't know exactly full bound who are on Miguel Sanchez, but I know that Ghostface from Killah, from what I was listening to, was not on that song. So it's like a vintage kind of city hop mixtape flavor. Miguel Sanchez is like a vintage kind of city hop mixtape flavor, kind of strolls kind of get here. Just popular. It's kind of a popular snack run, grab supplies, pitches like that. Good song to plot to as far as those first going to happen. So just good type tone. Typical type stark typeness kind of get here just in the pitch behind it. So just that city hop type flavor, just with like a more 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock p.m. type dredge about it as far as those fairs going to happen. Another one pretty similar to that particular fashion would be Grew Up Hard. This is kind of like a typical kind of mid 2000s mixtape hustle. Kind of get here to city weaving, definitely just hustlers makeshift. I would feel within the fair behind it. Just kind of good for some in between days. Feels very similar to something that like folks like 50 Cent would kind of do, just one of those typical type ones, like a Baltimore Love Thing, some of those type pitches. So it has a little bit of commercial aspects on there. There are some ones for that soulful typeness, kind of in between the fair, like city hopping typeness, just with like smoke sessions and just the mixtape grind, just like that flavor of like DJ drama type stuff. So some good type pitches. Josephine is a quality ones, like a jury kind of evening malaise. Josephine's like a jury kind of evening malaise, kind of get here, just tug along, definitely. Makeshift work today, just within the aspects behind it, just sullen, pretty sullen type tune, just insular moments. I would feel like here, just in the cause of good personal song within the aspects, good song to smoke to. So this kind of a song for nosing bells being down and out just in the pitch, just the aspects as far as those fairs can happen, just good type tone for some of those type fairs behind it. But it's kind of the concept of this like It's kind of the grind of like a typical kind of weekday sludge, just with the aspect of just like kind of more slag within the aspect within the fair behind, but some good type pitches to lift people up, just get to the aspect of just getting towards the tone and just like getting back up, kind of undoing some bad hair days as far as those pitch kind of happens. So it's good type tone. Block rock is a quality one. It's like a jazzy kind of night on the town. I'd have to say here, probably one of the few moments that has more contemporary aspects in terms of like not just city stepping pitches like that, but actually it missed like a little bit more of like almost venue typeness about it. It's like a good, it's like some good starry outs to kind of get here. Just like the single good, I'd have to say, little swash, just having some fun times to that, drinks in your system, some of that type fare. Good type fun with your mans as far as those pitch can happen. When I say your mans, I mean like folks that you hang with just within the fashion, East Coast type terms. When you say your mans, like DMX does, some of those type folks just within the pitch, as far as saying just folks that you hang out with, but not as much just within the aspect of everyday kind of routine, but just within the pitch, and just folks that just kind of have like +1, +2, some of those type fares within the pitch behind, just kind of some step out and like for a fare of just homies when you're past like the age of 30 or 33, when you're not going to be hanging with your friends every single day and pitches like that. So it's good type tone for that. Out of town shit's a quality ones, like a dredgy kind of Grand Theft Auto like town commerce kind of get here. It just feels like something ripped out of some of those type games from like the early 2000s. Definite pawn shop kind of hopping pitches like that. Just feels like those sort of songs that you'd pick up like some DVDs for cheap or Blu-rays for cheap at like a pawn shop or something within that aspect, getting like some good gear, some of that type fare. Arby's type music within the pitch, just kind of more just out and about, just a little bit more uptown type pitch within the sort of pitch behind a good song to smoke up to within some of those type fares. So another good type one for just air and runs just within the pitches like that, just more atypical type stuff I'd have to say within the fair. Street opera is a quality one. It's like a soulful, kind of high as hell comic to kind of get here. Just typical kind of feel good weaving, I'd say, just from the aspect, just kind of stone, but just having the aspect, just like some step out, I'd say, just makeshift toil. I'd have to feel like within the tone about it, just kind of bustle within the pitch. So it's good type tone. This is another one that feels like a 50 Cent kind of grind tune, some of those type pitches between 50 Cent and DJ Drama type fare. Some of those type pitches just feels like a mixtape bustle. This one the fair behind, just smoke several, this kind of house clean type music, just out and about with typical kind of air, with typical kind of Aaron, just out and about with typical kind of Aaron run type music, just with red eyes pitches like that. So good type fare. Another real excellent smoking song on here would be Greedy Bitches. It's like a sludgy kind of day fare to kind of get to smoke several. Definitely, I feel like about this one, just feeling nice. I'd have to say here, just typical kind of pushing like a lazy Aaron done. Just a typical kind of pushing like a lazy Aaron kind of day within the pitch behind it, but it's a fun type song within the pitch. So it's just kind of the concept. This really feels like a Bob Marley type song, not like it's reggaeton, but it's just kind of the pitch of just getting like that typical kind of format of something ripped out of the 70s within that format, just more smoke centric, some of those type fares. Different from the rest of the tone of this album, where most of it's kind of more city hopping within more star type sense of mixtape fare. This is kind of one that just feels more ripped out of something that Shaggy or Bob Marley would kind of do some of those type fares. Good aspect for that. And then Alex Stolen Script is a nice one here as well. It's another MF Doom beat as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's like a leery song's like a leery kind of 70s villainous kind of contemplate. Alex Stolen Script is like a leery kind of 70s villainous kind of contemplate to kind of get here. Just good lyrical. It's like a good lyrical snack as far as those first gonna happen. Smoke a few, definitely. It's a pretty homely type song. So it's just within the pitch of just being more homebound, just in the aspect of just brewing, contemplate pitches like that. Maybe, pick up some stuff around the house, just figure out what's gonna happen. Just get some insular type tasks kind of taken care of as far as this pitch can have them pay a few bills, some of that type fare, but just kind of concept, but just kind of maybe in certain senses could be like mild kind of level up type music, but it's just kind of the tone as far as just the aspect of just not as much step out, but it's kind of the contemplated, just some extra type fare. Yeah, so that particularly happens to be the concept about it as far as those fares going to happen. So yeah, I think I talked about every song on here as far as this pitch is going to go. So just on the pitch as far as saying, just looking after here, so this album gets an 8.75 out of 10. The social score I'll probably give like a 9.25 2 out of 10. I would give it a higher score, but it's just in the pitch as far as saying that it only has one single, and just the aspect. It does have some good looks on here. Redman is on here. Chic Luch is on here. Amy Winehouse is on here. Capadon is on here. Trife the God, some of these more Wu-Tang centric type folks are on here within some of these type pitches. Sun God, I think that's Ghostface Killah's son as far as those first going to happen. Some extra type folks within those aspects, just from the tone as far as saying it's got a good composition about it. It's very social type product, but it does it just from the aspect of more new, does it kind of within the concept of more big city kind of NY type flair as far as this pitch kind of happens. So it's just good aspect there to be able to get some of that just in a typical kind of DJ drama mixtape type format, just the grind of it, just amidst the conduct of just pawn shop runs, snack runs, more uptown type runs within pitches like that, standard grind, money get type flair within the pitch behind it. Definitely some smoke centric type stuff, and just the product just like out and about. Everything, basically everything but the kitchen sink. And the kitchen sink, by what I mean by that, is just like a dance club type song within the pitch behind. It's the only real thing. Just felt like Ghostface Killah wasn't amidst like as much venue kind of step and pitch like that, not as much kind of 1-2 step type songs, or just kind of pop that, drop that type songs to the pitch as far as this was going to happen, which I within the pitch as far as saying that he was 35, 36, 37 around this particular time was just the aspect. He probably could have used at least a song like that. This is like a money throw or something like that within the pitch behind a strip club type song, something like that. But other than that, it's a pretty fun type product, minus just the product of just being amidst like dance clubs and pitches like that. So I just look after here as far as those flares going to have those good aspects. And 9.25 social in terms of the future, Ghostface Killah supposedly worked on stuff. I don't know his full on what he's been up to. Like I said, it's been a little bit since I touched base with him. It's been a little bit since I touched base. I'll probably get to some more of his 2000s type projects like Supreme Clientele, some of those type pitches. Get to some more Wu Tang, some of those type flares like Method Man and some of those type folks, other folks like that. Like Raekwon, some of those type folks just gonna pitch. But yeah, it's a pretty excellent type album here to be able to get this excellent type conduct basically on the same par as Fish Scale. I probably up the score of that nowadays. Just some pitch, just more primary Ghostface Killah in the second one, good stuff like that.